Good day, good people. My name is Kabisa Gwele and I'm an online math tutor, here to help young children turn their struggles into their successes. Today's video is all about what your middle schooler is learning in mathematics and what they need to do to kind of prepare themselves for the next phase of their math journey, that being high school mathematics. Mathematics in general is cumulative, which basically means that each year builds off of the previous one. Whatever they learned in elementary school math, that is going to be the foundation for their middle school math. In the early phases of elementary school math, everything they learned was very linear. 1 plus 1 is 2, 2 plus 2 is 4, 2 minus 1 is 1. Everything is so easy to understand because it's so linear. It's all part of I like to think of mathematics as like a big, well-oiled machine, and this machine runs very efficiently, and all these different parts of the machine are like the different parts of mathematics. When all of these parts come together, they create a machine that just works with little effort and very efficiently. So for your child to understand how the machine works, they need to understand all the little parts. Now in the elementary phase, your child is learning the basic parts of this machine and how they all work together to get it to run. So far everything is very linear. But when we move to upper elementary, your child now moves into parts of mathematics that now tap more into their ability to reason, because math is becoming less linear. Things aren't as straightforward. Mathematics is becoming less linear and more conceptual. Now there's more things that they need to understand. Not just know, but truly understand. They're now being introduced to fractions, percentages, decimals, ratios, time, complex shapes, money, equations, very simple equations. It's like they're getting introduced to more practical parts of mathematics, parts that actually apply to everyday life. And everyday life is very far from linear. But then they enter into middle school, and now majority of the work that they're dealing with in mathematics is conceptual. Now your child is learning about complex equations, or what some would view as complex sums. And in these sums, they have to work with a mixture of a whole lot of things. They're going to work with fractions that are a bit more challenging. They're going to work with placeholders, otherwise known as variables. They'll be introduced to exponents. They're also going to be dealing with word problems that are very much concept heavy, and the only way your child will be able to solve them is if they understand mathematics. This is the phase where children are now introduced to methods where they don't necessarily understand what they're doing or why they're doing it, but they're doing it because that's how they were taught to solve the problem. For example, something like long division. This is a method that children generally use to divide numbers. Now, majority of kids that have been taught this method have no idea why the steps in that method are there. They don't know why we multiply, why we then subtract, why we then bring down. They don't understand that. And a lot of times they don't even know why it has to be in that particular order. But because that's what they were taught, that's what they've memorized, and that's what they run with. So those are kind of the methods that your child is now being introduced to. Methods that they don't necessarily understand, but they know and they've memorized. So as a parent, you should be concerned not just what they're learning, but how they're learning it. This is another phase where your child is being taught words that they don't know the meaning of. But because they have an idea of what that word is about, they just run with it for a couple of years. For example, if you were to ask your child what the word ratio means, what is a ratio? They might struggle to explain that to you because they don't truly understand what a ratio is. But because they have an idea of what it's about and they've been taught to solve problems regarding ratios, they feel that's enough. And they sort of run with that for quite a long time in their journey in mathematics. That is a very big issue when it comes to middle school. A lot of the times that's when kids start seeing a decline in their grades, especially in mathematics, because now we're moving on to topics that require understanding. Unfortunately, the same methods that your child used to learn those more linear topics, they are now using to learn the more conceptual topics. So now their study skills or their learning skills have not adapted to their new circumstances, and that is where the problem is. So please encourage your child to learn good study habits and good study skills at this phase of their learning. Skills that actually help them comprehend the concepts that they are learning. This is the perfect time for your child to start learning how to study. You may think they're too young, but they really are not. Skills that they will most likely not be taught in school. Rather they learn these skills now than 5 years later when they're learning the type of mathematics that they never even dreamed existed. Teach them now to understand rather than just to know. Explain to them that their manner of learning needs to change because the things that they're now learning have changed. So as they're heading into middle school, teach them that they need to change how they study and they need to change their mindset. Math is no longer just about knowing, it is now about understanding. Honestly speaking, it's never been about just knowing. Even to do well in addition and subtraction, those easy topics. They needed to understand what they were doing, but it was much easier because addition and subtraction is so linear. But now as they're heading into more difficult topics, understanding needs to be their goal. This is actually why I recently created a course that teaches children how to understand mathematics, because I realized that kids don't know that. And even when I was in high school, we weren't taught that there are different ways of studying different subjects. This is actually why I created a course that teaches children how to understand mathematics, because I realized that that's not a skill that's actually being taught in school. Your child has access to a lot of information everywhere, but all of that information is useless if they don't know how to digest the information. So the challenge is not lack of knowledge. The challenge is not lack of access to resources. The challenge is being able to understand those resources and being able to simplify it for themselves so they can understand what they're learning. So my course teaches them how to understand mathematics, how to study mathematics. Knowing about a ratio and understanding what a ratio is are two different things. And that's the difference between someone who does very well in mathematics and someone who struggles in mathematics. So please be sure to go ahead to my website and schedule a free consultation with me so we can discuss more about this course. Or you can watch this video if you want to learn more about that course. But if you are looking for an online math tutor to help your child understand mathematics, please be sure to go down to my website and schedule a free consultation with me there. Thank you so much for making it to the end of this video. I will see you in the next one.